My name is Michael Carter. I grew up in a small town in Mississippi where hard work was more than a value. It was a way of life. My father owned a gravel hauling business, and from a young age, I was helping him, changing tires, mending flats. By the time I was 13, I was driving that massive 18-wheeler. Most of my childhood was spent on the road or in the gravel pits. There was little time for the usual teenage things. I didn't party or stray far from family and work. I was more man than boy early on. When I graduated high school, I knew I wanted more. I joined the Army at 19, trained airborne, and served overseas in Germany and South Korea. Those years shaped me in ways I couldn't fully understand yet. When I came back, I went straight into heavy equipment operation, working with bulldozers, excavators, and the raw power of shaping Earth itself. The force and control thrilled me. It gave me a sense of purpose. I never had much of a social life outside work. Shifts ran long, 12 hours a day, often 7 days straight. That's just how it was. You worked hard or you didn't eat. One spring day in Oklahoma changed everything. We were building a new solar farm outside Tulsa, clearing ground and moving earth under the hot sun. It was a Saturday, and we were set to finish early. I was operating the bulldozer, pushing dirt with the ease of someone who knew every lever and pedal by muscle memory. I took a break at noon, eating a simple sandwich. Then I climbed back into the cab and started again, and that's when the pressure began. It was subtle at first, a tightening in my neck. Then it spread down into my chest. I tried to ignore it, thinking maybe it was just fatigue or nerves, but the pain wouldn't relent. I climbed down and made my way to the medic station. My arm started hurting too, a dull ache turning sharp. I was scared now. I told the medic I thought it might be my heart. I'd felt something similar a year ago, but back then doctors said it was just heartburn. This time was different. The heaviness pressed on me like an anchor, and before I could call for help, I sat down, my vision blurring. The last thing I remember was hoping whoever was nearby would catch me when I fainted. That's when everything changed. I woke in darkness, but it wasn't just any darkness. It was vast, endless. I felt weightless, like I was floating. When I looked down, there was no ground, only stars. I was suspended above a shimmering void. At first, I was confused. Was this a dream? Some sort of strange hallucination? But I felt no fear. Instead, a calm curiosity blossomed inside me. I wasn't bound to my body anymore. Slowly, I drifted toward a path of stones, perfectly arranged and glowing faintly beneath me. The path led to a towering archway carved from ancient stone, shaped like the doors of a great castle. There, standing in the doorway, was a figure, translucent, shimmering, yet fully present. We looked at each other without fear, without words. It was as if our souls acknowledged something beyond human understanding. I felt myself surge forward, moving faster than physics should allow, blurring past the edges of reality. I realized then that different rules applied here. Things like time, space, limits didn't hold me back anymore. Just beyond the archway, darkness gave way to light. And what a light it was, not blinding, but tender and warm, filled with such love that mere human words fall short attempting to describe it. It hugged me from within, a pure force that healed and comforted every corner of my being. In that light, I heard words echoing inside me. Forgiveness, love, peace. They weren't spoken with a voice, but imprinted directly on my heart. As I basked in this profound love, I floated downward, drawn gently toward a grove of towering pine trees, so vivid I could count every needle on every branch. The earth beneath was like nothing I'd ever seen, alive, vibrant, pulsing with quiet energy. Beneath a steep cliff lay a garden unlike any I could have imagined. Flowers as large as dinner tables swayed gently, their colors richer than any earthly palette. They seemed to watch me, silent sentinels acknowledging my presence without eyes. I could zoom in on each blossom, inspecting their intricate beauty, feeling a connection unlike anything on this side of existence. Then the scene shifted. I was back in the sky, surrounded by 4 brilliant, vertical lights that grew larger and closer. Smaller lights, tiny orbs of shimmering brilliance, swirled around me like fireflies, and I somehow knew they symbolized my family members who had passed on. The main lights coalesced into a towering figure of pure light and energy, its form humanoid but radiant beyond anything I could comprehend. The figure moved with a grace and power that astounded me, and no matter where it went, its gaze never left me. This presence felt like the embodiment of unconditional love and strength. Suddenly, I was back in my body, gasping for air as medics worked frantically. I had been gone for minutes that felt like an eternity, but the experience changed my life forever. When I opened my eyes, the sterile smell of the ambulance was overwhelming. The world snapped back, loud and chaotic. Lights flickered, voices rushed. The medic was kneeling beside me, her hands pressing my chest in a desperate rhythm. "Hear me, Michael. You've got to fight," she urged. I was barely conscious, but I managed to whisper, What happened?" "Your heart stopped," she said, her eyes wide with awe and panic. "You were gone for 4 or 5 minutes. 4 or 5 minutes. I tried to grasp how time could stretch and bend so profoundly. Minutes in the body, but what felt like a lifetime beyond it. The doctors later called it a widowmaker heart attack, the deadliest kind, with survival odds stacked impossibly against me. Somehow I was lucky. A miracle, they whispered. Back in the hospital, life became a battle. I was hooked up to machines, wires clipped to my chest. Nurses were amazed I was awake and talking when I was supposed to be unconscious or intubated. The doctors said my heart's pumping power was alarmingly low, only about 30 to 35% normal, and they put me in a special vest that would shock me if my heart faltered again. I wore that vest for months, a constant reminder how fragile my existence had become. But beneath the physical struggles was a deeper, invisible struggle, the one inside my heart and mind, the place no test could measure. After the initial rush of survival wore off, I sank into a deep depression. Why? Because the other side was too beautiful, too full of love to ever forget. I was caught between two worlds, the earthbound reality of pain, machines, and uncertainty, and the pure, radiant world I glimpsed beyond. I kept telling myself, and anyone who would listen, that I wished I could stay there, that place of light and love where fear had no home. But nobody understood. They saw me as broken, lost, confused. They couldn't know that I had tasted something eternal, something that rewrote the meaning of life itself. In the months afterward, I devoured every story I could find about near-death experiences. To know I wasn't alone brought a fragile comfort. So many who had gone beyond said the same things. Love is everything. Forgiveness, peace, unity. That love transcends all boundaries, race, religion, even death. I realized that many of us carry invisible wounds, wounds inflicted by fear, judgment, and separation. But in that other place, none of those mattered. I was raised in a church that preached fear of hell and strict obedience, a world of rules to escape damnation. But what I saw was nothing like that. I saw a God of love, not punishment. I saw humans as souls, all connected, all one. This experience shattered my old beliefs, but rebuilt something stronger, gentler. Most importantly, it freed me from fear, the primal fear of death that shapes so much of human life. I no longer fear death. It is not an end, but a transition, a return home. I look at the world differently now. I see beyond appearances. I don't judge people by their clothes, their skin color, or their creed. I see their souls. I see their light. Helping others became my new mission, not for reward or reward, but because that's what love calls us to do. Material things lost their grip on me. They're just distractions from what truly matters. Help who you can, when you can, became my mantra, a simple truth that feels revolutionary. Every day I wake, I carry the memory of that light, that love, and it shapes my choices. My life has purpose now, a purpose rooted in connection, compassion, and humility. Life after the hospital was a strange, new world where the physical and the spiritual danced an uneasy waltz. My body was healing. Doctors were amazed by the progress of my heart, which had grown stronger with time. They told me about scars left behind by the trauma of the attack, and the shocks that had brought me back. The odds they used to scare me were turned into stories of miracles. But it wasn't just a heart that was healing. It was my entire being. The experience had transformed me in ways I hadn't anticipated. The fear, the anger, the judgment I once carried like armor dissolved slowly, replaced by something softer and more profound. I recall sitting in my small living room months after the attack, feeling a loneliness that cut deeper than any scar. I was depressed not because of pain or physical limitation, but because I longed for the place I'd seen, the immense light and unconditional love. No one I knew could understand why I wanted to stay there. The ineffable peace I found beyond death. They heard the clinical update, the miraculous survival, but not the silent, overwhelming clarity that confronted my soul. It felt like I was speaking a language no one else knew. I started reading stories of others who had crossed over, glimpsed eternity, and returned with new hearts and new missions gave me comfort. I found names, faces, and voices that echoed my own experiences. Many described the same elements: the soft but powerful love, the vision of souls connected beyond time and space, the loss of fear about death. I realized these stories weren't just passively inspiring. They were guides for a new way of living. What struck me most was the consistent lesson about forgiveness. Those who had faced death and returned spoke of forgiveness, not just as an abstract idea, but as a vital key to healing and transformation. Forgiveness of others, forgiveness of the self, release from resentment and pain. I took this to heart. Bit by bit, I worked to forgive myself for the anger I carried from past hurts and disappointments. I released grudges that had tight-fisted their way into my spirit. I practiced seeing people as souls, not categories defined by race, religion, or history. Positive thinking became a tool, a discipline. I tried to stay mindful, reminding myself that negativity only chained me to inner suffering. Slowly, a quiet peace settled over me, not the kind sold in books or preached in sermons, but one born from the direct experience of what lies beyond fear and judgment. I found myself drawn to the idea of divine love, not a distant concept, but tangible presence guiding everyday decisions. This love did not demand perfection, but accepted imperfection unconditionally. It softened my harshest edges and opened a door to living with greater kindness and empathy. Life's challenges didn't disappear, but they lost their grip on my spirit. I learned that spiritual awakening is not a single moment, but a continual journey, one that requires patience, courage, and daily acts of love. Every time I reached out to help someone, whether a stranger or a friend, I felt the echo of that light. Each small act seemed to reaffirm the truth I had seen. We are connected beyond bodies, beyond time. Our purpose is to love and to help one another journey home. My transformation wasn't just spiritual, it was physical too. My doctors later told me my heart was one of the rare ones that fully healed after such a severe attack. A miracle of biology, yes, but also perhaps a reflection of the soul's resilience. I was given a second chance, both at life and at love. The weeks and months that followed my return were some of the most challenging and illuminating of my life. People sometimes ask, what was it like coming back? The truth is, it's not like waking up from a dream or returning from a trip. It's more like being born again into a world that suddenly feels both familiar and alien. At first, I was overwhelmed by the joy and clarity of what I had seen and felt, but that very brilliance made everyday life difficult. The contrast between the pure love of the beyond and the struggle of the earthly realm was stark. I was haunted by an ache, a longing for the light and the peace. One old friend said to me after a visit, "Mike, you're different now. I don't know who you are anymore." He was right. The man they knew was gone, replaced by someone who saw the world through a new lens. Less anger, less judgment, more understanding. I no longer feared death. That dread, which had shadowed me like a storm cloud, simply evaporated. Death was not a brutal end, but a doorway to return to that place of radiant love. This belief didn't make life less precious. It made it more meaningful. Each breath felt like a gift. My priorities shifted. I cared less about material things, money, status, trivial competition. Instead, I was consumed by the desire to love and help others, to be kind without expectation, to see every person as a soul navigating their own journey. At times, this intense empathy carried a heavy weight. I picked up on the pain and suffering around me more acutely, feeling a responsibility to ease it where I could. I found myself drawn to volunteering, to simple acts of kindness, helping neighbors, listening without judgment, sharing what I had. Spiritually, my worldview opened like a flower in spring. I no longer clung to rigid doctrines and fearful judgments of my youth. Instead, I embraced a spirituality rooted in love, forgiveness, and unity. The divisions of race, religion, and nationality faded in importance. What mattered was the light we each carried inside. There were social consequences to this transformation. Relationships that once felt natural became strained or even fractured. Some friends and family struggled to accept my new outlook. I understood they hadn't seen what I hadn't felt that love firsthand. Yet, I also found new connections with people who shared similar experiences or were open to talking about the mysteries of existence. We formed a quiet but deep community of souls awakened to the truth beyond the physical. Psychologists studying near-death experiences report that these profound events often lead to lasting changes. Less fear of death, greater compassion, a heightened sense of purpose, and new values that center on love and service. My story fits this pattern exactly. These changes are not illusions or fleeting feelings, but deep, enduring shifts that shape a lifetime. Every day reminded me I was living between two worlds, the material and the spiritual. When pain or frustration arose, I reached inward to the memory of the light and love that had shown me what truly matters. It was a refuge, a source of strength. The near-death experience gave me a gift far greater than survival. It gave me a mission. I live now to share the message that death is not to be feared, that love is the highest truth, and that we are all connected beyond what the eye can see. Though my body is mortal and vulnerable, my soul is forever changed. I carry that eternal light with me, shining a little brighter every day. Coming back from the edge of death is just the start of a lifelong transformation. The near-death experience did not conclude when I was discharged from the hospital. It continued to unfold day by day, revealing new layers of insight and change. Research shows that the profound shifts in attitudes and values triggered by near-death experiences are not fleeting. They often persist for decades and shape people's lives in lasting ways. I was living proof of that. One of the most profound changes was my enhanced belief in the divine and in life beyond this physical world. Before the heart attack, I had believed in God, but my understanding was limited and often clouded by fear and rigid doctrinal rules. After my experience, that faith blossomed into something vibrant and personal. It wasn't about dogma anymore. It was about a direct encounter with a love so powerful it reshaped my soul. I also experienced a decreased fear of death. The notion of dying, once terrifying, became a passage, a coming home. This shift freed me from worries that had consumed me for years. Death was no longer the end, but a transition to a place where love reigns eternal. Alongside this, I discovered an increased compassion and concern for others. My heart expanded beyond personal struggles to encompass the collective suffering and joys of humanity. Material achievements mattered less, while acts of kindness and connection felt infinitely more important. My priorities realigned towards service, to my family, my community, and even to strangers. I learned that love isn't just something to feel. It's something to do. Every day presented an opportunity to embody the values I had glimpsed in that other realm. Spiritually, my awakening deepened over time, unfolding like a slow sunrise. I sought understanding through reading, meditation, and conversations with others who had undergone similar journeys. The experience made me more curious about the mysteries of existence and more respectful of different paths others might walk. Yet, this transformation wasn't without struggle. I faced alienation at times, breaking old ties and encountering disbelief or discomfort from those who couldn't relate. My social circles shifted as values shifted. Some friendships faded, while new bonds formed with kindred spirits. Psychological studies of near-death experiencers confirm that these challenges are common. The process of integrating such a profound event into ordinary life can strain relationships and sometimes causes feelings of isolation or confusion. But over the years, the changes, the loss of fear, the heightened spirituality, the deepened compassion, remained steadfast. Like a plant rooted deeply, my new self became resilient, growing stronger through life seasons. I sometimes recall the vibrant garden I saw during my experience, the vast flowers alive with silent consciousness. That garden felt like a metaphor for the human family. diverse yet connected, each soul a distinct flower in a magnificent circle. This vision fuels my commitment to see beyond surface differences, to honor the shared light within each person. In practical terms, I live with more present awareness now, more appreciation for the simple moments, the laughter of a child, the gentle touch of a breeze, a heartfelt conversation. These are the sacred threads that weave a meaningful life. In all this, I've come to believe that the near-death experience is not so much about death, but about life. It's a call to awaken, to love, to forgive, and to embrace our shared journey with humility and grace. My story is one of many, among thousands who will look beyond the veil and return changed. The lesson that shines through them all is simple yet profound. Love is the essence of everything. Though my near-death experience brought profound gifts, the long-term journey has not been without its difficulties. The transformation created tensions, both within me and between me and the world around me. One challenge was the unexpected loneliness. I had glimpsed a higher reality filled with love and understanding, yet returned to a world often cold, stressful, and fragmented. The deep, unspoken connection I felt with all souls made the noise of everyday life sometimes unbearable. It was as if I had awakened in a crowded room where everyone else was still asleep. Some relationships suffered. Friends and family found it hard to relate to my new outlook. Conversations about the experience often ended in silence or skepticism. In some cases, roles reversed. I became the listener rather than the speaker, guarding my story like a fragile treasure. The isolation was painful, but it also deepened my compassion for others who suffer similarly when walking new paths. Psychologically, I faced episodes of depression, confusion, and existential questioning. The profound sense of having seen the other side brought moments of despair and longing to return. Yet over time, integration became easier as spiritual practices and meaningful connections grew. I learned to embrace patience with myself, understanding that healing is an ongoing process, not a destination. Support groups and communities of others who had undergone similar experiences became lifelines. Together, we shared our stories, normalizing the extraordinary. Over the years, studies have shown that many who experience near-death events have persistent changes in attitudes and values. They lose their fear of death, gain a new sense of life's meaning, and are often driven by compassion and service. They tend to detach from materialism and embrace spirituality and personal growth. These changes endure for decades, suggesting a real and profound transformation. My own life has mirrored these patterns precisely. The awareness of life's fragility strengthened my commitment to live fully and authentically. The message I carry is simple but powerful. Life does not end at death. Love is eternal, and we are all deeply connected. Each day is a chance to embody these truths more fully, to forgive, to heal, to help, to walk humbly, carrying the light I was given and sharing it gently with a world still waking up. As the years passed, the lessons of my near-death experience continued to deepen. The long-term effects were profound, shaping every aspect of my life and my worldview. Scientific studies have confirmed what I felt intuitively. These transformative experiences bring lasting shift in attitudes toward life, death, and human connection. One of the most remarkable changes was my enhanced belief in divinity and the afterlife. Whereas before my faith was mostly shaped by family tradition and church teachings, now it was deeply personal and undeniable. I carried within me the memory of that radiant love, the peaceful light that transcended physical reality. It was an experience that could not be explained away by simple reason or skepticism. The fear of death, once a shadow lurking behind every thought, was replaced by a calm certainty that death is not an end, but a doorway. This shift liberated me from anxieties and allowed me to embrace life fully, cherishing each moment with gratitude and presence. Along with this came a remarkable increase in compassion and empathy. I felt a stronger urge to make a positive difference in the lives of others, to serve wherever I could. Monetary gain, social status, and material possessions felt increasingly irrelevant next to the simple joy of helping and connecting with people. It was as though my soul had been rewired to prioritize love and kindness over everything else. Spiritually, I grew more introspective and open-minded. The rigid boundaries of my former beliefs dissolved into a fluid understanding that welcomed mystery and humility. I explored different spiritual paths, seeking the common thread of love and unity that underpinned all true faiths. Socially, the transformation was not without its costs. Relationships shifted, as some could no longer connect with the person I had become. Yet, new friendships blossomed with those who understood or shared similar journeys. The experience instilled in me a tolerance for differing views, tempered by the knowledge that every soul is on its own path. Psychologically, I faced moments of loneliness and confusion, but learned to seek support and practice patience with myself. The integration of such a profound experience is a lifelong process, requiring time and nurturing. The scientific community, too, is increasingly recognizing the long-term effects of near-death experiences. Research consistently finds that those who have had NDEs experience enduring changes, a more positive attitude toward death, deeper spirituality, greater compassion, and a shift away from materialistic values. These transformations remain stable over decades, confirming the deep impact of the experience. Looking back now, I see my NDE as less about death and more about awakening, a call to live more fully and authentically. It revealed the interconnectedness of all souls and the eternal nature of love. Today, I live guided by the memory of that light and love. I try to embody these truths in daily life through compassion, forgiveness, and service. Though the material world can be chaotic and harsh, I know that beneath it all lies a deeper reality of unity and peace. My story, like many others, is an invitation to look beyond fear, to embrace love, and see every person not as a stranger but as a soul, a fellow traveler on our shared journey home. Reflecting on my journey, I now understand that the near-death experience was not just a brush with mortality. It was a profound awakening, a spiritual rebirth. Scientific studies affirm what many experiencers like me have long known, that the effects are deep, enduring, and life-altering. For example, a 2024 study involving over 800 individuals who had NDEs confirmed significant and persistent transformations in beliefs, attitudes, and values many years later. The study highlighted several key lasting effects that I resonate with deeply: an enhanced belief in a spiritual dimension and in life after death, a marked decrease in fear of dying, and an increased compassion for others. It also showed a reordering of life priorities, where spiritual and relational values replace material pursuits. One fascinating aspect is the durability of these changes. Research shows that attitudes and life outlook shifts hold steady even decades after the experience. People who have had NDEs continue to report greater appreciation for life, heightened spirituality, increased self-acceptance, and deeper concern for planetary and social issues. I experienced all this and more. The near-death experience guided me to a new way of living, a way defined by love, service, and authenticity. It helped me shed old fears and prejudices, opening a space inside me for forgiveness and understanding. Yet transformation is not always easy. The differences in worldview created friction at times with loved ones who could not comprehend what I had seen and felt. But the awareness of a reality beyond physical existence gave me the strength to navigate those challenges with grace. The radiant love and light I encountered continued to be my guiding stars, urging me to live kindly and purposefully. The experience reinforced a fundamental truth I now carry in my heart: that life, no matter how brief, is precious, that death is not to be feared, and that love is the eternal essence of all things. This story, my story, is one among many that shows us what may lie beyond this life. It is a call to awaken to our true nature, to connect across the boundaries of race, religion, and culture, and to live with humility and love. As I look to the future, I carry these truths with me, walking gently but firmly, knowing my soul's journey continues, forever intertwined in the infinite light I glimpsed on the other side.